Boy, I wish Callie would get back to me.
She's totally cuckolding you, Coop.
That's fine.
Welcome to the Swing Set. Climb on up. There is always a swing available. On Life on the Swingset The Podcast, we explore ethically non-monogamous relationships, the pleasures and passions, the promise and pitfalls. We discuss all aspects of ethical non-monogamy in a fun, open, and welcoming fashion, with a gleam in our eye, a bounce in our step, our hands down your pants. Ooh, sorry, got ahead of myself. We may be biased. In fact, we most certainly are. But we don't sugarcoat, and each of us speaks honestly and earnestly about our thoughts, ideas, and experiences throughout our very own lives on the swing set. Thanks for swinging by.
Sometimes it feels great to be really and truly degraded. The Humiliation expansion pack for BDSM draws curiosity, ire, and extreme excitement from the world. Another stop on that same train line is cuckolding, a term that many still try to make an insult, but may unambiguously show someone at once totally comfortable with their relationship or working through past issues. Or, of course, just enjoying the fuck out of each other and others. Tonight we're joined by Callie, creator of Kink Academy and author of Enough to Make You Blush, Exploring Erotic Humiliation, to discuss cuckolding and humiliation play on Life on the Swingset The Podcast. I'm Cooper, and tonight I have with me...
Hey everybody, it's Ginger.
Hey, it's Dylan Thomas.
Hello, it's Katie Mack.
And thank you for joining us, Callie.
Thanks for having me, everybody.
Please tweet along as you listen to our episode with hashtag SSPodcast. You can find us all on Twitter at Cooper S. Beckett, Ginger N. the Prof, Dylan the Thomas, That Katie Mack, and Princess_Callie. And if you like what we're doing here, you can sign up on our Patreon page to throw us a buck or two every time we release an episode at lifeontheswingset.com/support. You can also buy shirts, mugs, and other fun Swingset merch at lifeontheswingset.com/merch. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to everybody, but I appreciate you
talking to me?
You answering. I do. So, I was introduced to the term cuckolding in 7th grade, I think, in Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, yeah.
And then because our teacher was embarrassingly vague about it and was clearly uncomfortable with talking about it further, we did the young person thing where we went to the dictionary and looked it up. And I found it so amusing that cuckolding originated because the cuckoo bird would push eggs of other birds out of the nest and lay its own eggs in the nest, and let that bird sitting on the eggs be none the wiser. And then, of course, when it became applied to humans, it was about usually a man being cuckolded by another man who has impregnated his wife, and the man has no idea while he raises a son that is not his.
Yes, it's a term that's been used that way for a really long time. And the modern version definitely has a bit more flexibility. But back then, good King Henry VIII was also, the cuckolding thing was a big deal for him as well because of a couple of his wives, being harlots, or at least that's what he called them.
Well, and then he took care of them in very extreme fashion.
Is nobody going to sing the song?
No, you should sing
the copyright song, Katie.
It's not copyrighted, is it?
I don't know. It might be. Happy Birthday was until just recently.
All right, fine.
So
Nadia, carry on.
So I would love it, Callie, if you would talk about what cuckolding means in the modern parlance.
Yeah, I think that, it started off most definitely as an insult. It was something said to emasculate men and to to call attention to the fact that their women were sleeping around and that they either didn't know or couldn't do anything about it. And so it was definitely used as a very deep insult that really at the core was about emasculating a man. And so, of course, we still have that reference point. One of the things about humiliation is that it is insulting is also a way of being affectionate. And so in kind of more modern kink experiences, there definitely is that same reference point of it being about being emasculated and having the woman be more powerful than you, which of course in our still sexist society has really similar impact on certain men. But of course within the kink experience of it, it is though consensual, and that there in order for it to be kind of the most healthy version of a kinky experience, there's got to be consent by all the partners for what's going on. Sure. And that it's the sort of humiliation aspect of it is actually part of the appeal for men, quote unquote, allowing their women to go out and do as they please.
So that was actually going to be my question to you. So if you don't mind expanding on this, I love watching my wife get fucked. But the humiliation part is what upgrades that into cuckolding?
Yes, exactly. Because one of the core concepts in humiliation is that you cannot humiliate someone with something they don't find humiliating. And all of the activities that fall under the erotic humiliation umbrella are often also experienced by kinksters with no humiliation at all. And so enjoying watching your partner have sex isn't necessarily automatically a cuckolding experience. Right. What makes it the cuckolding thing is often that the cuckolded man is also denied as part of the process, right? And of course, that would make for probably damp spirits at a swingers party, is for people to not be able to enjoy all of the festivities. But part of the fetish is the denial of the husband while the wife or partner goes out and gets all of this sexual pleasure while they are not allowed to.
My only experience in cuckolding, besides being called a cuckold by a whole bunch of men's rights activists, but I love the way you put you can't humiliate someone for something that they do not feel shame about.
Right. Yeah. Oftentimes when I've taught my humiliation class, it's one of my most popular classes, and people often want to know if they're doing it right. Like, give me the formula to humiliate my partner. And that's just simply not how it works, because if somebody doesn't find an activity to trigger kind of erotically shameful feelings, right, then that it's not humiliating.
Well, I met a couple in Desire in Mexico on one of our trips where I found out sort of as a scene was getting going that her husband was very much into being humiliated during the act. Like, see, she's sucking my cock because it's so much bigger than yours. Why would she ever want yours? And I'm very much a chameleon sexual. Like, if I see something's working for someone, then I get onto that, and so, yeah, so the first little lob over at him was just like really tentative, but I saw him react so strongly. It's like, well, okay, I can play this game.
Well, and that's exactly it. It is a lifestyle, like a fetish lifestyle for some people, but for a lot of kinksters, it's simply another role play to spice up the dynamic of things. And so again, it comes back to this emasculization that a lot of times within cuckolding, it's this kind of Rubik's Cube of the male partner often being denied, the female partner being like really promiscuous and really turned on by what is traditionally called the bull, or the man who is fucking the wife or partner. Mm-hmm. And of course, it is considered a fairly traditional, like heterosexual focused type of fetish, but that isn't always the case. Cuckolding is completely gender neutral, essentially. It's most often, I think, used within heterosexual relationships.
So I have a question, and I ask at the risk of getting it's a different for everyone answer. Is for people that want to be cuckolded, is humiliation the ultimate goal because that in itself fulfills somebody somehow, or is that humiliation a path to arousal for the people that really want to be cuckolded?
Well, yeah, it depends on the person. I think that you definitely predicted that one because humiliation, I think the thing that is the second most important thing to remember, other than you can't humiliate someone with something they don't find humiliating, is that there are a huge variety of levels to enter this sort of experience, right? And so I think that some kinksters, humiliation itself is the goal, and cuckolding is the tool to get there. And for many others, the cuckolding experience itself is the goal, and the humiliation is the tool to get there. And that may seem like a small nuance, but it really isn't. The figuring out the nuance of what your goals are, what I call kernel kink, it's essentially the goal feelings that you have, is the most important thing that any kinkster can do, figuring out how they want to feel either during or after a sexual and kinky experience.
What fascinates me about listening to you describe the nuance, Callie, is the fact that we're really talking about a fetish, a kink, a sexual experience that is almost purely psychological. Rather than the skill of, I can use this flogger, I can use this crop, I can use this rope, I can use these clamps, that you're really on your game in every second to dive into the nooks and crannies of someone's brain and to really dissect them and dismantle them in a sexy way. And you can't check out during that kind of experience. I think it's fascinating. I'd love for you to speak to where you go when you need to access that part of you to really dive in deep to a humiliation or cuckolding experience, or vice versa, both with someone.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. I think that a lot of kink activities are focused on physical activity being the trigger for a psychological state, right? That impact play, you can do impact play without power dynamics. You can do bondage without any kind of sort of, really, you can have a successful bondage scene without being particularly psychologically connected or engaged, right? And one of the things that I hear a lot of rope bottoms talk about is, in fact, the spacing out, right? And same thing with rope tops is the zen of it. And like you say, humiliation, it is a fetish or a kink or a desire for a particular emotional state that we get to based on either physical activities like, sploshing, wet and messy food play where you get to throw food at people. Some people find that humiliating. Some people find it silly. Some people, don't find it anything at all. And so there's a psychological state that we're trying to achieve through these, humiliating activities or humiliating actions. And in terms of where I go in order to get that, there's I have an absurdity fetish is the way that I've come to describe it. I like to laugh a lot. I particularly like to laugh in scene. I think that humans are ridiculous and beautiful, and that sex is absurd in just such beautiful, intimate ways.
You're
and so I like
here.
Yeah, no, right? We're a bunch of sex geeks here. And so for me, being able to do that almost entirely within a psychological or a sort of mind intellectual, emotional connection is what has always fascinated me about it. Is that ability to get into somebody's head and really muck around in it. I mean, I glow when I do it, which sounds a little twisted, even to a lot of sexually empowered people, because, how can you glow when you are humiliating someone and not be a psychopath, right? But again, it's like these consensual experiences where people get to do stuff that might otherwise be unsafe within an actual safe environment. And so I get to be mean. I was raised to be a nice girl, and I get to be mean and like just talk dirty. And so there's a real attraction to that sort of balance, I think.
This is starting to make more sense to me now, because I would describe myself as a service top. And part of what attracts me to something like edging, for example, is that I have to absolutely pay attention to somebody's mental state to find out where they're at in order to get them to where I want to get them to. I mean, yeah, there are physical cues to it, but there's also the hint of orgasm denial to that, where I really need to find out where they're at in order to make sure I bring them down and up the right way to where they're definitely still feeling it, but they're not quite there yet. And because I'm not a natural dom, when I'm with somebody that absolutely wants that, I really have to make sure my head's in their game and my head's in their head in order to continue doing it. And I feel like I could do this with the way you're describing it, because I'm mapping a path to humiliating somebody and degrading somebody because I like to give people what they want. And if somebody wants that, I think I could do that. And I like where this is going.
I don't know. I don't think I could.
How come? I mean, not that that's an unusual answer. I'm just curious, what about it feels unachievable?
I mean, for me, and it's, some element of humiliation or degrading, degradation, whatever. Some element of it has been requested of me in the past, and I've tried to pull it off. And Callie, I know you don't know me too well, but the three of them do. And I just need you to imagine how much apologizing and like, oh my God, but wait, hold on. Like, was that too far? Like, are you okay? But like, are you sure that goes on?
Oh, Katie, I'm the same way. I literally was told by my sub, you need to stop asking if that's okay. You just need to stop. Trust me that I will tell you when it's not.
Well, I've done a lot of deprogramming in my life, but that shit never really goes away. And so I usually, when I need to do something like that, I can usually pull from some of the stuff that I definitely still have in me, but that doesn't surface very often, and just kind of shift back into that role or that mental state to do it. And I have a history of degrading people. I have a history of that. And I hate to admit that, but I feel like I could dig into there to get that. But if you don't have that, I'm not sure how you could get there. Okay, so I can understand why some people would be predisposed to wanting to be cuckolded. But getting to doing the cuckolding, I'm curious how you get there.
First of all, being a bit anxious or being concerned about whether or not you are maxing out someone's limits is a really, really common response, right? Because again, there's so much of this that isn't talked about. I mean, for Christ's sake, the lack of sex education around fairly mainstream sexual desires, right? And finding an entry point into this isn't always easy. And it's one of the reasons that I've taught the class for so long and why I finally wrote a book about it, because so many people, I think, don't know how to find an entry point if they do want to. And so when it comes to cuckolding particularly, I think that if the partner who is going out and about and sleeping around, sexy person, needs to, if they're looking for kind of an entry point to it, there can be a focus on the connection that it builds between that person and the denied partner. Right? Is that, let's say you go out and it doesn't even have to, cuckolding does not have to, again, I come back to the idea of levels. It does not have to be a full sex experience. Now, obviously, that is the traditional expression of it, but you can play around with cuckolding by taking your partner out to a bar and watching them dance and flirt with other people, knowing that you're going to still go home together, but maybe playing with that sort of energy of, well, I'm going to go home with you unless I find some sexy person who, whisks me off my feet. Now, you can have agreed that you can play around with that sort of verbal role play and see how everybody feels about it, and knowing that you're then going to go home and either have sex together, or that you can then do cuckolding where they use sex toys on the partner that is doing the denying of the other person, right? And so you can still play with that energy of denying and using kind of verbal role play. So there's actually a lot of ways to kind of dip your toe in the cuckolding waters, without feeling like you have to go and do a cream pie gangbang. That's like on one end of the cuckolding spectrum. But on the other end is just being flirtatious with people while your partner watches, and you kind of ignore them.
So we're not endorsing cream pie gangbang as the first step.
Exactly. We're not denying the deliciousness of cream pie gangbangs. I'm sure that your
That's audience... a tweet waiting to happen right there.
That's a 402 class.
I know.
Right. But I think that people get afraid that if you're not doing it that way, then you're not doing it. And that's one of the biggest myths I try to bust about kinky experiences, is that you don't have to do these circus kink versions of things where it's like a 3-ring circus. You can really just play with the way it makes you feel and go from there.
And I think it's like anything else. Oh, sorry, Jen.
No, go for it, Katie.
You don't want to rock, paper, scissors for it?
Can you scissor for it?
You're going to scissor for it?
Shut up.
Boys are bad.
Oh, boy. I was so...
Wow. That took Ginger a while.
No, it didn't. I was trying to go right past it.
Oh, trying to ignore us.
I was just like, kind of.
Ignore the boys.
Anyway. So Katie's going to go, and then I do have something to say.
And then
you have the talking stick, Katie.
I have the talking stick. Okay. We actually have one of those, don't we?
Well, it's a dildo, but yeah.
It's a dildo. And Dylan sticks it to his forehead, and it's not good when that happens.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to talk.
Go.
So I think in Callie, hearing what you're saying, I think there are a lot of parallels to non-monogamy in general. This idea that there's one extreme way that it looks like, and if you're not doing that, then you're not doing it. And it really does ignore all of the steps and growth. I mean, I feel like cuckolding, like any kind of non-monogamy, is a big thing. It's not like big as in like, oh my God, but it's not like something you're going to randomly propose on a Thursday and just,
dive in.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. There's steps and growth and things you do together. So I appreciate. Yes, I do.
Well, that's true. Yeah, okay. I can't.
It's because she read your book, My Life on the Swing Set.
She did.
Oh my God.
I think you're very right.
Your nuance, Callie. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, but you're exactly right. People just love to paint things with, an either or sort of option, and that's just not what it is. And so it's up to each, couple or each person, or poly group to figure out what works. And I always suggest ramping up. It is much easier to move forward bit by bit, having success, than trying to like jump off the deep end and then try to backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so sorry. And so I started talking again, but I didn't have the talking sticks.
But you are our guest, and you are also a dom, so...
I am legitimately taking notes, so I'm going to give you all the space I can to listen to what you have to say. But one of the things I find interesting about the idea of the psychological nuances, for me, that is an incredible source of desire and arousal, and actually puts me in a place probably, if I had to rank, which is really sad to even consider trying to create a sexual hierarchy, but when I go to that headspace of digging into someone around the humiliation, I really get off on that. I really find that it pushes me outside of my comfort zone, and Coop, like you mentioned, feeling that energy come back at me is such a creative process. And what I love about it as well is I feel like people, maybe this is an overstepping statement, but I feel like a lot of people are more forward about the fact that they use it as a personal growth tool, for lack of a better term, that this is really something they dive into because it really does push them outside of their comfort zone to the extent that they have to find new resources and really get to know themselves. And I feel like that's on both sides of the equation. And when you dive into that psychological component, for me, it's even more amped up. And the arousal and desire is there for me in a way that is even superior to other sexual experiences that are more hands-on or more, gangbang, cream pie, circus fun.
Gangbang, cream pie, circus fun.
Woo!
I want that to be the name of my first album.
That is an excellent, the band name. That would be good. I think, and different people will enjoy different levels with different other people, is that I totally get where you're coming from because the psychological aspect is so important and attractive to me as well, that it's, the brain is our biggest sex organ. And so when there is a power dynamic and when there is taboo, I love confronting taboo, and there's a lot to play with in this particular playground.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with a whole lot more about humiliation and cuckolding on Life on the Swingset The Podcast. ...2016 is moving fast, and we're getting ever closer to being back in paradise at Desire Resort and Spa in Cancun, Mexico. 2016's trip is from November 5th through 12th. Desire is probably my favorite spot in the whole world. A sex-positive and open place that lets us hang out, get our sexy freak on, whatever form that may take, be it swinger, poly, nudist, or simply curious. Eat, drink, enjoy like the gods of hedonism that we are. For our 5th year, we're taking over the entire resort, and that allows us full control over the entertainment and themes. We're already over half booked, and it's a small resort, so these rooms are going to go fast. We've had a waiting list every year. You don't want to miss your chance. Go to ssdesire.com for more information, to listen to our past podcasts, and read blog posts from previous trips. I can't wait to be back in paradise with you all. ssdesire.com. Choose your own adventure. Where did you get pie, Dylan?
I don't know. I just...
Not circus pie.
I didn't process the whole thing. What
circus
was the whole thing
fun. Gang, I already tweeted it.
Oh, no, cream pie. Circus cream
oh,
pie,
yeah,
fun.
That's what it was. It was cream pies, circus fun.
Wait, so gangbang, circle
cream
jerk.
Pies, no circle
gangbang, cream pie, circus fun, I think is probably makes the most actual grammatical sense.
That has a delicious cadence to it.
Yeah.
Almost a haiku.
Cream pie, circus fun.
Just cream pie circus fun.
Just listening to us work that out was brilliant. Just a really, really great soundbite. I'm into it.
Halfway to iambic pentameter.
Almost there.
And we, circle back around to Shakespeare. There you go.
When it comes to online dating, we here at the Swingset believe that Cassidy is the best one out there. It looks great, it's intuitive and easy to use, and it's simply full of potential sexy friends. Still the fastest growing online swinger dating site in the world, Cassidy has been our go-to site for the last 3 years. If you sign up using our link at lifeontheswingset.com/KASIDIE, you'll get some free time to explore the site. And you can decide for yourself if Cassidy is the site for you. Hope to see you there at Cassidy.com. Welcome back to Life on the Swingset, the podcast. Tonight we're here with Callie, who is talking to us about cuckolding and humiliation play. And I have noticed, and I always acknowledge that I may be seeing things from a particular vantage point that leads me to a version of reality that's slightly skewed. But I have noticed a lot more byplay in cuckolding videos and stories. And while on one side, I'm always happy to see byplay represented, on another side, I feel like it's possible that some of it is negative about male-male activity. But again, that's part of the game of cuckolding. So I was wondering if you could speak to that. Is it rising, or is it just Cooper seeing, rising? Because he sees that.
Cooper's a Hannibal fan.
I think that there is a lot more probably erotica that is coming out with it. I think that the bi aspect of it has been a part of the kink version of cuckolding probably for a while, but there is an element of, and I'm doing air quotation marks here, forced, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's not forced. It is within consensual boundaries and that sort of thing. But I find that cuckolding and the sort of forced by, like the guy being having to be the fluffer for the bull, the cucky is what they're often called. The cucky doing various things.
Do the Girl Scouts sell those?
Thank God, no. That would be about as inappropriate as it gets.
You like that?
Although it'd make a great porn.
It would make a great porn.
On the door. I'd like
Girl
to
Scout
tell you
cuck.
some
No, Cuck Scouts. Cuck Scouts.
Cuck Scouts. Oh God!
It's for your next class. Call your students Cuck Scouts.
Cuck Scouts. That's pretty damn. It's pretty damn good. So yeah, I think that there is probably more, it's becoming more of a visual aspect of cuckolding as cuckolding porn becomes, I think, more popular. When I made femdom porn back like before that was a thing, like for a lot of people to do, and there I think was not quite the same emphasis then as kind of an overall aspect of the fetish, but it's a factor. And yeah, I mean, whether or not it represents, by men, I think is probably you're not going to get a real satisfying answer to that, because often as part of that dynamic, there is this element of fantasy force.
Sure.
That the guy is doing it for the pleasure of his female partner, that the submissive is doing it for the pleasure of his female partner and her more partners with sexual prowess. And so there is a focus on why it's emasculating and why it's something that they have to be forced into doing, but often it's to facilitate a desire that is already in that person.
I'm going to choose to treat it as a greater good.
Yeah. More cock in the mouths.
Yes.
That's really
more cock in the mouths.
Yeah. That's
the campaign platform.
Yeah.
It is. It is on this Super Tuesday. More cock in male mouths.
I'm doing the Bill Clinton thumb.
Yeah.
I'd like to promise you that in my administration, there will be more cocks and more mouths all across our nation.
I bet Bill would promise that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a great.
He'd support it too.
He would. He would totally support that.
Coop, I've seen some of the the porn that profess to be cuckolding stuff that, you know, I know what you're tiptoeing around, and I'm just going to say it because I do that.
What am I tiptoeing around?
Well,
because I'm pretty confident. I'm curious because I'm pretty confident I actually asked what I wanted to know.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right. I thought you were tiptoeing around porn that has the bull fucking the husband of a wife and saying, you know, see, your husband's so inadequate because he's gay. No,
it wasn't tiptoeing around that. That was part of what I was talking about. Yeah, but I talked myself out of believing that it was actually perpetuating the negative stereotypes, because if guys are watching it and jerking off,
yes,
then clearly something about it is intriguing to them. And really, right. I think that's a greater good for bisexual visibility.
Not arguing with you. I wanted to mention something that I have seen fairly recently, that instead of using that as degrading, it's a Cisification. I've seen...
That's where you push a boulder up a hill?
Wah, wah, wah.
No,
I went old school.
I've seen like if you're going to draw a fine line there, you know, I've seen that done pretty effectively recently, and it was pretty interesting. I did one of those whole I'm going to grab a drink and watch this thing for a while thing.
I imagine you sitting down with your hand on your face, you know, very like stroking. Leaning forward, like stroking. Intently watching.
I think I might have to ask if I do that. It's like
furrowed brow.
Really serious.
Yeah, furrowed brow.
Take a notebook out and start writing notes. or maybe do the hand thing where I'm like squaring up for a photo, kind of, sort of, you know, in my mind's eye, something like that. Yeah.
Tilt your head. Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
No, that was pretty much it. You made your point. I just wanted to bring that up.
So I have a comment on kind of both of those things, because one of the things that is a bit on the meta side of particularly humiliation and the psychological nature of it is that you cannot escape overarching social taboos that often, you know, that again, coming back to like impact play or bondage, the taboo aspect of it might be attractive, but there's also a lot of other elements, you know, the physical, like the physiological responses, the emotional connection, the adrenaline, that kind of stuff that might happen. But where the reason that people have these humiliating feelings attached to these activities like cuckolding or Cisification, which is when typically when cisgendered men are dressed up in feminine clothes to be humiliated, that what those things, as well as pretty much every other erotic humiliation activity, are drawing from are overarching taboos like homophobia, like sexism, you know, that the reason that men are supposed to feel humiliated by being in women's clothing is because there is still an undercurrent of women being inferior, you know, creatures. And so that if you are dressed in feminine things, right, that it comes back to this perpetuation of gender norms, right, that men in women's clothes are weaker, that men who desire cock are weaker. And so it's impossible to separate that kind of overarching social taboo aspect of it from the reasons why people find it humiliating, and that somehow that those experiences have also been attached to an experience of arousal, and the focus, like the kind of intellectual focus during these experiences might not be, oh, this is about homophobia, or, oh, this is about sexism. You know, instead it's about being turned on, and it's about that humiliation feeling, but that to deny that homophobia, sexism, classism, all of these things don't have an element of impact on why these things are so considered to be so humiliating, I think, you know, denies the real core aspect of what this stuff is all about. So it was a long thought, but there you go.
It was incredibly effective. It makes a real solid case for being able to explore this stuff without feeling... I mean, we've talked about pursuing kinks that are really, in any other circumstance in the world, not just taboo, but abusive, not socially, whatever it is, right? And learning to get to a point where you can explore those and feel comfortable exploring those and not feel shame exploring those is important. And you laid that out really effectively, which, yeah.
Awesome. Well, and because another thing to bring up that happens because within a lot of cuckolding is that there is a lot of racism that also can come into play. That it's cuckolding doesn't have to have anything to do with race, but the whole white male submissive, typically with a white female wife, fucking a African American or generally person of color, but like black guys in the big black bull sort of category is a major element in this sort of play. And all you have to do is, look back at, the 1950s and 60s where it was like, we have to keep our women safe. And so that sort of thing gets into the collective consciousness. And then because things that are taboo are often then attractive to us, it becomes subverted within a sexual experience, within hopefully a consensual experience. But that, racism definitely comes into play when there is a big black bull element to a certain kind of cuckolding experience.
Yeah, I've always I've been at clubs where there's very clearly been, the token big black bull guy there. And the thing that has always made me comfortable with it. I mean, I can walk into a club and not get tagged as a person of color, even though I am. So it's not something I really have to deal with. But when there is the token big black dick around, the thing that makes me feel okay with it is that after everything's done, at least in all the experiences that I've been around, everybody's always cleaned up, gotten a couple token clothes on, loincloth or some shit, and then gone to the kitchen and all eaten together, grabbed a drink, and then we're all, laughing and clinking glasses, and it's all good. And I've never felt bad about it because of that. But it absolutely does draw on that. It's I haven't seen it go bad, but I could definitely see it go bad.
Yeah, and it for most kinksters, I'd say that it's role play. That there is again, because there is this collective consciousness power of these kinds of dynamics, that it can be explored within sort of boundaried consensual experiences, that everybody who is participating in that experience, kind of knows where everybody stands and that sort of thing. It's when, and we all fetishize each other to some degree. The fact that I'm a white, blonde-haired California kind of girl, I've been fetishized for that. Of course, there's not, again, I'm part of the group that is, because I'm white, it's the predominantly, there's not the same sort of potentially, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Like everybody fetishes other people. That's a statement. And it's up to the people who are participating to make sure that their boundaries are being respected. And of course, like all kinks, that you don't engage, you don't pull people into your own fantasies without their consent.
Well, and it makes so much sense. And one of the things that I feel I'd love to have an even longer, deeper conversation about is the idea that as your own identity, however that looks and feels for you, you have every right to play with that. You have every right to experience it within a fetish, within your own skin, to fully embody exactly who you are in every way. And if that means consensually allowing for the fetishizing of some other human or other humans around you, then that's your fucking right. That's you being able to consent and say, by all means, I want you to look at me in this light right now because this is about me. And I feel like there's such a strong experience of power and agency in being able to own that. And if someone else in some other facet of the experience somehow vetoes that, then we're vetoing that person's agency. And so I bring it back around to, we can't look from the outside of someone else's experience and decide to veto or say it's distasteful, because if they're consenting, they're consenting.
Well, I think we often have this urge to speak on behalf of people who we feel need protecting and sort of say, no, that's not okay, but they may feel that it is perfectly okay.
Right. That's why I think it's much better to think of it in terms of individuals, right? Is
Sure.
that if I want to be, if me and my partner are creating a cuckolding experience, then we're going to look for other individuals that are going to be interested in the type of experience that we're looking for. And so it's important to bring it back to that sort of individual experience. And just the same way as it's not okay for a foot fetishist to kiss random women's feet on the bus, which there was a few years where that was actually a really big problem kind of around the nation, where men were, and it was before really big prevalence of foot fetish parties and ways on, places on the internet to really find a place for your foot-loving self. Men were lunging at women's feet, on buses and in subways and in parks and stuff. That's like the foot fetish itself is not a problem. It's the manifestation of how that person is choosing to try to get their fetish fulfilled.
Sure.
I remember that there was
would be,
an epidemic.
Yeah.
Of foot.
Well, it got around. It got around that often there were various areas of the country that didn't have that criminalized in some way or another, or wasn't considered assault, and so it was in the eyes of the law in some places a victimless crime.
Mm-hmm.
That changed pretty quick. Yeah,
I lived in Boston for many years, and there was a few instances of it coming up, and thankfully the women did press charges because it is assault. It's a sexual assault on someone, just, not just because it's not on a, your traditional tits and ass sort of tits, ass and crotch options. It still is.
And what if they want you to do? Just everyone stop wearing sandals on the tee?
Well, yes, because if you wear sandals, then you're asking for it.
Well, and that is exactly why that rape culture aspect is so nonsense. We could demonstrate it with shoes. Yes.
Well, that's a good point to go to another commercial. So we can all take a moment to think about #rape culture.
God, that's depressing.
Not actual rape culture, just #rape culture.
Oh, okay. That's softer.
It's slightly milder.
I'm just really glad that we don't sell branded sandals.
Swingset brand sandals.
It could be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, but could we start?
Well, we could sell closed-toed sandals so as to not
protect, yes,
get the foot fetishists who can't control themselves excited.
Oh dear.
Sounds like a very good plan.
And chastity belts.
Well, I do
Hey, that's
feel
a thing
some
too.
element
No,
of...
I know that's a thing. Let's go to commercial. We'll be back. We'll talk more.
We all come to a point in our lives when we finally ask the ever-looming question, is this all there is? And most of us coast along afterwards, just accepting that the answer to that question is probably, yeah, this is it. Sometimes, though, we're lucky. Sometimes we run into the right people at the right time. The young couple at the center of A Life Less Monogamous, the new novel by Cooper S. Beckett, are about to meet a couple of swingers, and this moment will change their lives. Cooper's first novel is already receiving acclaim, and you can pick it up today direct from the author at alifelessmonogamous.com as a signed paperback, DRM-free ebook, or pre-order the audiobook and save 50%. Use promo code SWINGSET at checkout to save 10%. You can also get Cooper's memoir, My Life on the Swingset, Adventures in Swinging and Polyamory, as an ebook, signed paperback, or audiobook at mylifeontheswingset.com. Enjoy more Cooper today, in book form.
had we not actually gone to commercial when all of that happened?
We
I
had
thought
not.
that we were saying that all in like special safe commercial land.
Never is.
There is no
Jesus.
safe place.
There is no safe place. That is true.
It's only Zool.
Dylan the Thomas. Did I rub off on you last night since my
Do you often rub off on Katie?
I can't even yell at them for laughing because I did the exact same thing. Pretty sure the three of us fucking harmonized on that.
Oh man.
Did I rub off on you?
Well, I was 2 for 2 for tonight with my headset and actually hearing Coop the very first time he spoke, and he heard me the very first sound I made.
Yeah, that doesn't
Dylan
actually
was
happen.
Lurking. I know.
And Dylan was lurking. Only unlike on the Hangouts, we didn't see the little window pop up and then say nothing.
Right.
We at the Swing Set believe that being risk-aware and practicing safer sex makes our lifestyle exponentially better. With that in mind, we're partnering with Lucky Bloke, global condom experts and the best online source for condoms and lube, to say no to mediocre condoms and bring the most pleasurable, safer sex directly to our listeners. Go to swingsetcondoms.com to see a specially curated selection of condoms, lubes, and assortments to reintroduce variety and excitement into the protection portion of your playtime. You should especially take note of the deluxe sampler put together by us at the Swing Set for your party and date night kit. Making your condom purchase here supports both us at the Swing Set and the wonderful purveyors of safer sex, Lucky Bloke. swingsetcondoms.com.
Welcome back to Life on the Swing Set, the podcast. We're going to round the corner to home here. Well, I've got nothing. Our commercial was very silly. Not the actual commercial, which I hope was serious about getting you to buy a product, but the stuff that happened behind the scenes during the commercial was very silly.
Yeah, but this is Dylan, so they probably just heard all of it anyway.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Just possibly not in the correct time order. So
only
we may
for
be,
desserts.
yeah.
They might have even heard it in the beginning of the show. Who knows? It's a mystery.
It is a mystery.
You're a wild and crazy guy, Dylan.
Wild and crazy guys. Well, if we pull it back from some of the kind of meta sort of stuff, because I think that humiliation can get very meta if once you kind of start thinking about some of these overarching social taboos, it might stimulate your brain but kill your boner or your lady boner. And so coming back to kind of the fun sexiness of it, right, because we've now established that if you are playing with somebody within a consensual boundary, that you're respecting all of the people as individuals that you're playing with, then there is lots of really fun sort of energy to play with when it comes to cuckolding. And so there is that kind of light, more playful and affectionate and kind of quickly reconnected experience of going out to a bar and maybe flirting or, doing kind of a make out in the corner sort of a thing, all the way to actually pursuing, bringing a virile man into the relationship to be the stud or the bull or whatever fun, sexy term you want to come up with, right? So there's this huge range of experiences that people can explore.
And really the key is that everybody involved in that scene needs to know what they're opting into.
Right.
So don't just bring a random guy home to fuck you only to find out that part of his job is to make your husband feel terrible about it.
Right.
No, that's not cool.
It's not cool. It is very.
And if you do that and he's cool with it, you probably know.
Then yeah, you're really lucky. That's like Powerball odds.
Yes.
Yeah.
But is most likely to turn a threesome into a no-sum. And so, a lot of, and again, there's various ways that a person might feel more comfortable with it, that maybe the submissive partner isn't around for the first few times, or maybe they have to wait in another room. Because there are aspects like voyeurism and fluffing and the cream pie fetish where the male submissive has to lick all of the studs cum out of their partner. That all of these things are these varying levels. And so hopefully whoever you're bringing home to play, you have brought up that there is this dynamic as part of it, instead of just having them come home and find your husband sitting creepily in the corner to supposedly, in the dark to watch you guys fuck.
Backlit like in True Lies.
Oh my God.
Trapped in the closet.
Yeah.
That would be incredible though, if it went well.
If it went well. But so that's my big advice, is that you don't have to have extensive conversations, because I understand a lot of people feel that is a boner killer, but have specific conversations. These are our boundaries. These and this is true not just for cuckolding, absolutely, but for humiliation play, because you are right on that edge of possibly accidentally saying something completely hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't necessarily know where that line is. And you know what? Your partner may not even know where that line is until it happens. So then you need to be able to walk that back too.
Right.
Like, I've been in a situation where I said, okay, I want to have a sub night and I want it to be humiliating. And I really just felt shitty the whole time. So then afterwards it's like, okay, in the future, let's not do that. Let's do this version of it, because this didn't work for me. But I wouldn't have known that because it was intriguing, and I wouldn't have known that unless I tried it.
Right. And sometimes things are sexier in our minds than in real life, and that needs to be okay. That's why the idea of ramping up is so important, because as you kind of successfully move forward, you might find a limit in a place that you didn't expect. And that what may be fun on a Tuesday night may not always be fun on a Saturday afternoon. We feel different things about our sexual selves on different days. And so, while I definitely understand that kind of excuse for avoiding negotiation, like, oh, it's not fun and it's an energy killer, I think that if you instead approach it as, the more information that I have from my partner and the more information that they have from me, the sexier the experience is actually going to be, because we're both going to be on the same page. And so instead, if you kind of sexualize the experience of talking about it and thinking about it and getting ready for it, then you are more likely to have a successful experience. But it's not a guarantee. Something that you have fantasized about maybe even for years and years and years, when it actually happens, can bring up very different feelings. And so, giving yourselves, like all sexual experiences, right, room to grow together and room to be compassionate with each other if things don't go as planned.
Absolutely. And be willing to grow, to not shut down after that experience, even if it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I discovered from this experience that I wasn't happy with, I discovered a whole different thing, an unexpected sort of mild humiliation thing that I really liked. And I wouldn't have necessarily made that slide had I not had this other experience.
Exactly. It really is an adventure. And if you approach it more like that, sometimes you're going to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, which then is actually a step forward. You
have to remember that.
Yeah, that you're going to end up having more successful experiences, which is going to be fun for everybody. And that's what the goal is, right? Is, like you mentioned kind of earlier at the start of the podcast, we want to make sure that everybody is coming out on the other end feeling good about what happened, even if superficially it looked like there was feeling bad.
Well, that's a good place to leave it. Callie, will you tell our listeners where they can find more of your stuff and about your book?
Absolutely. My book is called Enough to Make You Blush, Exploring Erotic Humiliation. My name is Princess Callie with a K, and so you can search for either of those things, the name of the book or my name, on Amazon. And you can, of course, order it directly from Amazon, paperback and ebook. And you can find blog posts and fun surveys and downloadable negotiation sheets at enoughtomakeyoublush.com. I also do private coaching. I'm a very action-oriented coach. I like to hear what obstacles you're dealing with and give you practical solutions to move you past those obstacles and into the sex life of your dreams. So you can find more information about that at Coaching by Callie, KALI.com. And also please check out kinkacademy.com. It is an incredible resource. We're currently at over 1,400 videos from over 130 educators. You can learn about anything from spanking to rope bondage to lighting your partner on fire, as well as gender identity and polyamory and swinging. And so kinkacademy.com is a website for only $20 a month. You can get more information to have the BDSM adventure of your life. So thank you guys for having me on. This was a fabulous conversation. I really enjoyed talking to y'all.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's funny. We didn't even realize that we hadn't talked about this in our entire span of, you know, being on the swing set. And I think, Cooper, yours and my, let's say online activities, kind of made us realize that. I accidentally started defending cuckolding to somebody that was using it as an insult. And Cooper, well, you just decided to troll a lot of people. Which I very much appreciate because I
didn't troll a lot of people. I spoke the truth, and they read it as trolling.
But that's the best kind of trolling. You don't even have to try. So I thought it was very cool.
Well,
thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Before we go, I want to talk about a game we got from some listeners called the Game of Lifestyle. It's 2 decks of cards, one that is an icebreaker edition, and one is a hot and heavy edition. And they're really really cool thing to help groups of people start, getting a little more sexy together. The icebreaker edition is basically like a never have I ever style thing. It's got questions on and quizzes, things that for you to answer. You pass it around the room. Everyone gets to answer. Do you enjoy talking dirty during sex? How dirty? And then the other one involves it's truth or dare then, because there are dares in the mix. And we've been looking for another game like this to carry on the tradition of great sex games from the Sex is Fun crowd. And I think the Game of Lifestyle is a good option for that. So I know a lot of people look for ice-breaking games for early on in their swing party experiences. So you can get this at gameoflifestyle.com. And they've got some delightfully retro graphics on the box, so it's as though it were made for me. They know me well. So you can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/theswingset. Check out this podcast, daily blogs, articles, and toy reviews on our website at lifeontheswingset.com and on our site's Twitter feed at ontheswingset. Email us at contact@lifeontheswingset.com. Give us a call, leave us a voicemail, send us a text at 573-55-SWING. That's 573-557-9464. If you have an episode idea for us, please share. Email episodes@lifeontheswingset.com with episode idea in the subject line. I do want to shout out to the person who left us a voicemail asking us to do an episode where our siblings are on the show instead of us. It's intriguing, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just going to put that out there. I do appreciate you asking for that.
Listeners, if you want to hear a lot about divorce, you should really listen to Life on the Swing Set about 100 episodes ago, not to my brother. Let's just put it that way.
I also want to shout out to our listener who was following our tweets, where we put up the tweet, "We're not denying the deliciousness of a cream pie gangbang," and in the feed directly below that tweet was a picture of a child with what looks like farina meal or oatmeal all over her face. And it was just a very unfortunate confluence.
She looks so happy.
She does. And we're not denying the deliciousness. And because I cannot show you this picture, listeners, I just had to mention it.
I lost my shit in the middle of the podcast. I had to mute and lean back and laugh and cringe and all sorts of shit because thank you / fuck you, listener.
Yeah. So don't forget to buy your condoms from the Lucky Bloke at swingsetcondoms.com. You can find our other great podcasts like the Gentle Pervert Social Club, Intellectual Foreplay, The Kinky Geeks, Eat the Rudecast, a damn good podcast about Twin Peaks, Sex at a Go-Go, Tell Me Something Good, and the Don't Panic podcast, which is our new podcast.
Yeah.
Check that out. All at swingset.fm. And you know what? I've decided as of today, I'm just going to fucking force our app back into Google.
Ooh.
And if we get it pulled out again, then it happens.
So you're going to force it in instead of pulling out. No,
Force
you're going to force
it
in.
Break it off.
Oh, wow.
Because Google should know better than to censor for stupid. That's the kind of thing Apple would do.
Yeah.
Google.
You wouldn't want to be like
better.
Apple.
Well, Apple censors penis. So, fuck.
So thanks again for being here.
She knows how it is. And finally, you can buy my novel about swinging, A Life Less Monogamous, at alifелessmonogamous.com, or my memoir, My Life on the Swing Set, Adventures in Swinging and Polyamory, at mylifeontheswingset.com. Both are available as an ebook, paperback, or audiobook, and if you buy them from my site, use promo code SWINGSET to save 10%. Thanks again, Callie, for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This was a blast.
And thank you, listeners, for swinging by.
Have a sexy business? Love the swing set? Let's put these two great things together. The Swingset Network has advertising and sponsorship packages available for our websites and podcasts. Email advertising at lifeontheswingset.com for more information. Thanks.
Excellent. Callie, I'm going to put that picture in the Skype call so you can see it.
Okay.
Because it's just amazing.
So
wait,
good.
what is it a picture of?
Okay, so can you see our Skype chat?
Oh, now I can.
Okay. So it's just a tragic confluence of it might have been Facebook, actually.
It's
You're not going to post that in public.
No. No,
Thank God.
No, that's a child and a father who's probably unrelated.
Yeah, okay.
He has
Just
no
checking
idea.
Just checking in. That is an unfortunate juxtaposition.
Yeah.
However, I didn't even realize you guys were tweeting the whole time. That is definitely a benefit of having like a few hosts. That's awesome.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But it wasn't live though. People couldn't hear us.
It gets them all
like
psyched up.
Yeah, totally. I love it. I'm going to retweet everything.
On a personal note to you guys, this might actually be breaking a streak of swing set episodes in which I haven't actually learned anything.
But you actually had the sound of learning something midway through. To the point of I was going to comment that like your voice was like, so I almost commented, wow, Dylan, you've come back to learning something.
And Dylan's worldview grew 10 sizes that day.
Yeah.
Yay!
I've got to tell you, though, that listening to you talk about, like, identifying as a service top and all this, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, are you kidding me? Like, give it a couple of years ago, and you were so, like, what is this magic I see before me? Like, you just literally couldn't wrap your head around the kink stuff. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'm chill. I'm a service top.
I know, whatever.
I was like, he popped his collar.
About that, I only came to like feel good about
God, Ginger! I have Diet Coke in my nose. Fuck you.
I told you that was the gross part of it. Drinking your enemy's blood, totally cool. The Diet Coke is the worst though.
No, it's fucking Ginger while I was drinking that.
I'm sorry. If I could see you, I wouldn't have said he popped his collar while you were drinking Diet Coke. But since I can't see you, then there's that. And in the meantime, Dylan is like, kink rock and roller over here. I love it though. Isn't it awesome?
It kind of feels good because I've had this feeling of what I like to do, and it's always taken me like 4 sentences or so to explain it. And now to people that know what a service top is, it's like, yeah, I'm a service top. Oh, yeah, cool. And they shortcut.
She says Callie or Callie?
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah. Because Callie is the goddess of destruction.
Yeah, Kali Ma. Kali Ma.
Yes,
Kali Ma.
Exactly.
I hope she doesn't say it like that because, I mean, I hate that movie. I legitimately hate Temple of Doom.
Do you really?
I do. It's like they missed. It's like they got everything wrong from Raiders. It's like they thought they were doing a good sequel, but every instinct they had was wrong.
I feel like I could be cuckolded by a lesbian with my wife, because then I wouldn't feel humiliated. Well, I would feel some humiliation. I have no fucking idea, but basically they could make fun of me for not having the necessary equipment to be a lesbian. And maybe I think
which is very valid. You don't.
Yeah, you don't have the tits that your wife craves, and it's like that is true.
I don't.
Wait.
I don't
stop.
think
That's,
answering.
You went straight to tits.
hot.
I don't think answering cuckolding stuff though with yes, you're right.
No, I agree. I would have to get humiliated over not having the equipment that my wife needs, and then like she'd mount my wife and like put her, move her muffin and pussy right on her face and start grinding against it and say, see, you don't have what your wife needs. She craves pussy and you just don't have what you need, and
Dylan, you're really halfway to cuckolding yourself from some imaginary lesbians.
Yes?
I think so.
Yep, doing it now.
Okay, so now I am creating one for 244, which is the one we just recorded.
Okay.
So bitchcast incoming.
I love our bitch cast.
I'm
know.
really looking forward to hearing it.
I want it to be a thing. Enter name and valid email address.
It will be a thing.
Why is my email address invalid?
You're invalid.
Does it have an @something.com?
Where it's like, hey, I'm autofilling. And then it's like, fuck you, I'm really not. So you hit the button, it's like, invalid. It sounds like an 80s put down. So invalid. It sounds like it should be in Heather's.
It's a valid, yeah.
Fuck me gently with a chainsaw. What's your damage, Heather?
The moment I fell in love with Gilmore Girls.
Those are the gifts you need, Katie.
Jim,
Yes.
when I fell in love with Gilmore Girls was when Rory said to her mother, "What's your damage, Heather?"
Right.
Best moment.
Right. It's a good moment.
Okay, you should have the file request for the Cuckold episode also. I like that there's an exclamation point after the Dropbox requests. It's like really excited. Your request was created!
Who is it that just posted? Lene just posted the I period or whatever the app is. Says you're 3 days late. exclamation point. She's like, I don't think the exclamation point is really necessary. I'm creating my own urgency right now. Thank you very much. Oh, that's so fucking bad. You see all these like dude programmers behind that? Like, let's put an exclamation point here. Sorry.
All right, how about this, real quick? Before I know you want to
tired
stop.
and want to call it.
I want to make you guys aware of somebody interesting.
Okay.
Well,
Awesome.
Is it you?
All right. Hey, you know what?
Epic takedown from Katie Mack.
Oh, shit. During the
Dylan, I love you. I'm sorry.
No, like I got. Oh wow.
Timing is perfect. You got to admit that.
That was a fatality right there.
Yes.
A Mortal Kombat style fatality.
Finish him.
Finish him.
Hi, this is Princess Callie, author of Enough to Make You Blush and founder of kinkacademy.com. You're listening to a Swingset podcast at swingset.fm.